So today we're going to be doing a review of e-cigarettes, the liquid nicotine cigarettes. Next on Hammond's Corner. So for any of you that know me, you know that in the early days of my life, I was a smoker when I was younger, and actually the first tobacco products I used were, I chewed when I was real young. Chewing was real popular when I was younger, and it was very acceptable, even by parents at the time. And I picked up smoking later on in life in the military, and then I went back to, we moved into a newer house, and I had a child, and I decided that I didn't want him to be around the cigarettes, so I went back to chewing for many years, and I became a very, very avid chewer. At one point in time, even smoking and chewing at the same time, which is a lot of, it's taking on a lot of nicotine into my body, a lot of chemicals. So I decided, about a year ago, maybe a little bit over a year ago, I decided to, I had a little bit of receding gum lines and stuff like that, and just decided that it was time to, to give up the chewing. I hadn't smoked in years, but to just, give up the chewing. So I thought, well, you know what, there's a lot of products out there, from nicotine gums to nicotine lozenges to everything else. Some of the things I just need to, it's a matter of staying occupied and having something to do sometimes, so I decided, the e-cigarettes come out in the market and we're getting more popular, so I thought, you know what, I'm going to try these. So the first e-cigarettes that I tried were Blues, because they had TV commercials. I'd heard a lot about them, and they were the first ones that I tried, and they were so far to date, the Blue cigarette brand was the worst ones that that I've tried, and let me tell you why. One of the problems with them is the battery lasted a minute amount of time. Nothing near, I think on the thing it said 200 or you get so many puffs out of a battery, and the battery was just not very good at all. It didn't last at all. It wouldn't even make it through an entire cartridge. So you basically had to have, as a 2 battery setup type deal. Mine only had 1. I didn't buy the extra battery. So I bought 1 battery, had to charge it. So you had, you could smoke a small amount, and then you had to charge your battery. Well, after only about 2 weeks worth of cycles, the charger went bad. The portable charger went bad, and then the regular charger went bad. So needless to say, I still had filters, I still had everything. I threw them in the trash. I was just done. So that was my experience over about a 2-week process with Blue. Within 2 weeks, everything had gone bad. I had to trash everything. Now other people, this was about 13, 14 months ago. Other people may have different experiences with Blue. When I first started using them, I thought, this is so cool, because I'm smoking, but I'm really not. It's just a vapor. The only chemical, is nicotine. I think I've seen a study where it's like 4,000 less ingredients in the e-liquids compared to tobacco products. So, like I said, I ended up trashing the Blues. They didn't work out for me. So next I got online and just did some research, and I see that a lot of information about the V2 brand. I don't know if you can see that or not. A lot of really good reviews online. Looked pretty legit, you know. At the time when I started using V2, you couldn't go to any stores and buy it. You could only get it online. I think there are some locations now that sell it, but the reviews were real positive. They had a lot of different flavors of juices, not too many, but enough. So I invested in the whole setup for Blue. So as you can see, you have your battery. Now Blue has 3 different size batteries, and you can get them 2 ways. You can get them. You can get them with a button to take your drag, so you have to hold the button down and take the drag, or you can get them that you just take a normal puff like a normal smoker would. So I opted with the ones you just take the normal puff. It just seemed more natural for me at the time. I also purchased, they have portable chargers. This is not the right charger for the battery. My original batteries that I had started with were smaller, so this was the portable charger. And then of course it came with a wall unit. All these things combined, I think my first trip out, I got the 50 milliliter bottle of e-liquid. The first trip out with this, you know, I had to buy the cartridges here. I had to buy like a 3-pack of these, 2 batteries, portable charger, and wall charger. I can honestly say if you're really going to use V2, you have to have all these things, okay? Because herein lies the problem. I started with a smaller battery. The charge, you know, I was charging all the time. So I switched to these new batteries they come out with that were supposed to be longer, more puffs out of them. And what I came to find out was it was longer than the original. It is a better battery than the original, but you still have to take an awful lot of puffs, or you still have to do an awful lot of charging. So if you work all day long, you almost have to have some type of portable charger, or you need 2 wall units, one to keep in your office or your desk. You know, you got to have something else. So this was probably the best purchase in going to this e-liquid with V2, because I used this multiple times every day. This held a pretty good charge. I could recharge, I don't know, 3 or 4 batteries out of this before this would get low. So that would be enough to get me through the day, you know. But what I found was every couple hours or so, you're spinning off a battery and putting a new battery on, charging. On the V2, the e-liquid, take this apart, the e-liquid fills from the top. And of course it just, you know, screws onto the battery like so. Like I said, I had opted for the battery without the button. You just take a natural drag off of it. Not too bad. Not too bad of a hit, you know. One thing that V2 does have that I really like is they actually have some e-liquids. They actually have some e-liquids that actually taste like tobacco. And you know, I was never a guy when I chewed that I chewed flavored chew, or, you know, I didn't do any of those things. I had tobacco because I wanted tobacco. I didn't want flavored tobacco. So that was one real advantage to V2, is they actually had a liquid that tastes like tobacco. They have a couple different ones, actually 3 different ones. Reds, Congress, and Sahara, that taste like, you know, one tastes a little bit more like a light cigarette, one is more like a Marlboro Red, and the other one's more like a Camel. So all 3 of them pretty good. And you can get them in different varieties of nicotine levels, the highest being 2.4, the lowest being 0. So nice options there. You know, criticism of V2, you know, the batteries, you know, don't last really, even the newer batteries don't last really that long. But one big advantage to the battery not lasting that long is this is no bigger than a small pen. So you can put it in your pocket, you can you know, put it in your shirt pocket, your pants pocket. It's very easy, and that was one nice thing. I used this brand for about a year, so I had a lot of experience with it. Every now and then the batteries, and I ran into this, which was sort of weird. Every now and then the batteries, after they get so old, don't take a very good hit, and I'd have to replace the battery. Not overly expensive, I think $20-some, $26 I think for a new battery. But every now and then I would have that. The other thing I noticed is, you know, at first I thought it was just, if you look in here, you can see how dark this e-liquid's gone. That is this liquid here. Okay, and I thought, well, that's just the filter. The filter causing that, you know, every so often you have to replace these. So, you know, here's a newer one with the liquid in it. But what I noticed was, you know, and I don't know why, but the sun and heat have effect on the liquid and will turn it darker too. We were in, as you've seen in one of my previous videos, at Myrtle Beach, and I had a brand new filter that I put juice in, and we went down to the pool, and this was in a bag out of the sunlight, but just in the general heat, and you know, I popped this puppy out, and within the day the juice had gone from that color to that color. I don't know why, but it did. Not a huge, it still tasted the same, it just looked a little funny. So I had a couple issues with that. I had a couple issues with batteries. I don't know if it's like they get clogged up or what, and you can't get a draw. Another issue that I had at one point in time and was the top here. This piece here, the metal banding around this top would come loose, which would basically render this whole cartridge useless, because even when you had to screw down, this would pop out and your juice would leak. There is a little bit of what I would call feedback of the juice coming up through the top occasionally, depending on you know, depending on what angle you're taking a hit from. You know, if you're laying in bed doing it, you can get a little feedback and get the taste of the juice in your mouth. So, but overall, you know what? I used it for a year, so obviously it was doing a good job for me. When I had this problem with the filters on the ring band, I had emailed V2 about the problem, and they were actually nice enough to send me a free battery since I was having an issue here. So thumbs up for that. Good customer service on that point. You know, like I said, the draw is pretty good on it. You know, but it's not too heavy. That's about as big of a draw as you can get on this. I mean, you puff really hard, you can get a little bit bigger, okay, as you can see. But that's about the biggest draw you can get off of that. You know, not a huge choice of liquids, but enough. You know, batteries, you know. But like I said, did a good job for me. So the only real big issue I have with V2 is their shipping department. Their shipping department is, you know, gotta call it like it is, just not very good. Okay, let me explain. I got to where I was pretty much ordering on a monthly basis, or if you know, every 5 or 6 weeks I was putting an order in. You know, one time I got somebody else's order. I ordered my stuff and got somebody else's order and didn't get my stuff. And then after that, 2 or 3 times, I got shipments of my stuff where things were either missing, or they were just the wrong product, or I had a partial order of somebody else's in my order and I had to call. So I don't know what's up with that in their shipping department. You know, I will say this, I call customer service, explain. You know, one time I got somebody else's, well actually 2 times I got somebody else's order. I know the one time I'd ask them, they said, you know what, we're going to next day your stuff, because I told them I was about out. And they said, we'll next day it, you'll have it in a day. It ended up taking a week to get it, you know, so I wasn't real happy with that, obviously. So, but for what I've seen, you know, compared to the blue, the V2 blows the blue out of the water. It's a decent product. So anyhow, in our little town where I live in, strangely enough, a smokeless tobacco shop, a vapor shop opened up here in our little town. And it had been here for a couple months, and I finally decided, you know what, I'm gonna stop in there and just see, because, you know, I was getting close to where I'm gonna need batteries again for the V2, and the, you know, this portable charger's getting a little dinged up after a year, so, you know, so you're talking, you know, $30, $40, $50 in batteries, and I think this thing's $30 or $40. So, you know, I thought, you know what, let me just swing in there and see what I can find. So I go into this smokeless tobacco shop, and I'm going to tell you this: I would recommend anybody that's going to switch from tobacco products to the e-liquids to actually go to a smokeless tobacco shop, a vapor shop, and purchase their items. For several reasons. So this is what I opted going with. The battery is called a Vision Spinner, and as you can see, it's a decent size. It's pretty big, you know, but trust me, if you go into a vapor shop, you will have so many selections of batteries, it's ridiculous. There are batteries that are this big that you charge like once a week. And then there's batteries that are super small that you can just throw in your pocket. So I opted with this, you know, I was tired of charging and dealing with things. I was tired of filling my tank. With the V2, every 2 hours I had to fill the tank. So I wanted something just a little bit bigger so I didn't have to mess with it so often. And the other thing I opted to go with on this is to go with the button and try it, instead of just pulling a drag. One of the issues with not having the button, we had this happen with the V2, is I actually fell asleep one night with this in bed. I was watching TV and fell asleep. This battery turned on by itself, and this thing got red hot and actually burned my skin and woke me up, which was a little bit scary, to be honest. And that is the knock on these batteries that don't have the button, is sometimes they'll engage on their own. So I would recommend always having the button for the drag. So, but this was my first experience with this. Once again, here's the battery. Here is the tank size that I opted with. I could have went with a smaller tank, a bigger tank. I could not believe all the options in tanks, all the options in batteries. You can have batteries that are a set voltage, or let me show you here. You can have batteries that have, let me get it to focus. You can have batteries that have multiple voltage. Which honestly I never knew they had, and that helps with the drag. That helps increase your drag. So as you can see, compared to the V2, that's a pretty good hit, and I'm only on my voltage, I'm at a 3.8, which is one notch up from the lowest. There's still 4.3 and 4.8 volt that I haven't quite made it to yet, because I'm thinking this is probably good enough. So anyhow, so then the next problem is flavors. You know, I was pretty stuck on this brand of V2, which as you can see, I've got a couple more bottles left of it. And I've got a red bottle also of the V Red. So I'm still playing with flavors, but I was amazed, and I know all vapor shops will be different. This vapor shop is called JoJo Vapes, and they actually have and I don't know if all vapor shops are the same, they actually have a nice bar that you go up and sit at. They have a menu that looks like a menu out of a restaurant, and then they have their flavors by tobacco flavors listed, desserts, fruits, and then also flavors that taste like drinks. So almost too big of a selection. So you sit down, you basically belly up to the bar, and they have batteries there, and you put this little rubber end on the tips, and you can try all the flavors. You look through the menu and you say, you know, hey, you know, let me try Altitude. And they pull a tank out, you put your little rubber thing on the end of it, and you try it. And if you like it, you buy it. So once again, these come in different sizes at the vapor shop. 15 milliliter bottle, 30 milliliter bottle, I think. Actually, there's one down from 15 milliliters. I think it was 9 milliliter bottle, then 15, then 30. This is a 30 bottle, and then they make a 50 milliliter bottle. So you can buy small and try it, and thank goodness the guy talked me out of this. I tried this brand called Altitude. It's really fruity. You know, it's a really fruity, and it's actually one of their most popular flavors. And you know, I was going for the gusto, give me a bottle of 50 milliliter, and the guy talked me down to buying the 15 mil because he says, hey, you know what, you may like it today and smoke on it all day today, and then you wake up tomorrow and hit it and go, ooh, that's just too much. And it's exactly what happened. I smoked it all that day. I woke up the next morning and I hit it, and I'm like, whoa, it's just too much fruit for me. So I went back and picked a flavor. It's called this is called Cherry and the Rye. Tastes a little bit like it's got a hint of cherry to it, and tastes a little bit like pipe tobacco, which I think, you know, I like cigars and pipe tobacco taste too. So I really like this one. So I bought a bigger bottle of this. And then the coolest thing, this is what's so cool about going to these vapor shops, is they experiment with flavors, is this flavor right here. It's called Mountain Rain. Tastes so much like Mountain Dew. And I'm telling you, I bought this little bottle to try, and I love this one. So the nice thing with going to a vape shop is you're gonna have multiple choices on size of battery, types of batteries, voltage regulation of the battery for different types of hits. You're gonna have multiple choices for tanks, different, you know, smaller, bigger, whatever. And the other thing that I liked is when you order from the competitors, like the V2, you get like a 3-pack of these for like $10. And you have to, I think it's every 18 to 20 tank fills, you're supposed to throw this away and put a new one on. You can actually get a little more out of it than that, to be honest. You know, so I was talking to them and about these, you know, how often do I have to replace these? Well, these are about, this deal here is about $5. Okay, so this big tank is about $5 compared to that. You know, and these come in at about 3 something a piece, and this one's 5. Not very comparable. But instead of having to replace this whole thing, and I know everybody calls these things different, but you just replace this atomizer for $2. So overall, for me, it was way cheaper to go to a vapor shop. The e-liquid was about half the price of the brands online, to be honest. This was half the price. They mix it right there. I could buy a $2 replacement part instead of replacing the whole thing. But even if I need to replace this whole thing, it's only $5. So so it's not outrageous. The tank, and I think I've seen for most of the vapor shops out there, the tank gets filled from the bottom half of the tank, and then there's that piece that you replace right there. For me, this tank, when I fill it up in the morning, lasts all day. So I fill it up once a day. This spinner battery, it's called the Spinner 2 battery by Vision. So far, I get 2 days charge out of this. I charge it once every 2 days, which is beautiful because that would have been, I don't know, 8. I'd probably charge, that's probably about 10 charges of the V2. And I do it once here. That's a pretty big difference. You don't have to mess with it. It's always ready to go. I like it, does a good hit. So, my suggestion to people that are going to try e-cigarettes is to find a local vapor shop, go in, try some of the flavors, find a flavor that you like, actually find 2 flavors that you like at least. Pick a battery that's going to last you at least a day. Pick a battery you're only going to charge once a day. Pick a tank that you're going to have to fill up once a day. Then you don't have to take e-juice, you don't have to take the juice with you anywhere, you don't have to take chargers with you anywhere. You just take this. It's a little bit bigger, but then you don't fumble around with all the other stuff, so it evens itself out over time. And I would really suggest the multiple voltage batteries too. You can go down to the lowest setting, which is the going to be equivalent to ones that can't be adjusted, but it makes a big difference to turn that up 1 notch. So I would suggest multiple voltage batteries, a little bit bigger battery so it lasts all day, a little bit bigger tank so you only fill it once a day. So anyhow, V2's good brand. Had some shipping issues with them, a few product issues over a year, which is nothing bad, but it's a good company. If you don't have a local vape shop, I would definitely recommend V2. But if you have a local vape shop, by all means go there. You're going to save money. I paid, I think, $30, $35 for this big battery, $5 for the tank, and my e-liquid. I walked out of there with my first setup purchase around 60 bucks. And compared to my V2 first setup purchase was about $100 or a little bit over $100. So you'll find that in the long run, this is about half the cost compared to this V2 national brand. So look up your local vape shops. It also helps support your communities locally. And that's it. Any questions? Thanks for watching. Any questions and comments, leave them for me. Be happy to answer them. And thanks for watching Hammond's Corner, and we'll see you next time.